Hi, folks. This is Don Meisner with the North Country Fishing Report. You know, there's so many techniques that I wanted to share with you. I thought this week I would talk about the basics of a fishing reel and all those different things. It's a tool. It's a tool that we use and how using that tool can make us a better fisherman. But then as I thought about that, I thought of all the other things that I learned along the way and what helps me to be the best fisherman I can be and what helps all of us to be the best fisherman we can be is knowledge. The knowledge that we gain through fishing, I think, is the most important thing of all. I can tell you about the tools, about a fishing reel and a spinning reel in my case, and all the different parts of it that become a tool that helps us to fish better. I'll give you an example. Each spinning reel that you buy will have a gear ratio that is given on the reel. A common one, let's say, is 5:2 to 1, which means every time you turn that handle, make a complete revolution, the spool will go around 5 times. 5 times. It's going to bring line every time it does that. So the higher the gear ratio, let's say you get a 6:1 spinning reel, well, then that means every time you're doing the same thing, you're actually bringing your lure in a little faster. Now that's either good or bad, and sometimes we can adjust for that. We know, okay, those fish like a faster, so we can reel faster. But let's say we're not. That can make a difference. And something that came to me as I was thinking about this is how we can take something as basic, another tool, the lure we're using is a paddle-tailed, soft plastic, minnow-looking lure. Okay, and there's just tons of them made by every single company, and all of them try to be kind of alike, so they look like a minnow, but they're all a little bit different. And I may have one that I use that I think is the greatest one that I can use, and I can go out with my buddy Rust or Dave or anybody else and fish, and maybe I'm going to catch more fish with that than they would using the same lure. And yet they can have another paddle tail that they like, and they can use that, and they can catch more fish on that than I could catch using the same lure. And I'll be very specific. The last time my buddy Rust and I went out to one of the waters, it was a water we really hadn't fished. And I thought, okay, I know there's some big smallmouths here. I'm going to use my favorite lure, and a couple of these lures has been best for me all along. And Rust was going to use his, it's called a Rage Tail, and it's made by Strike King. You can look it up. He loves that lure, and it has its own particular way of going through the water. But it has, when Rust fishes it, it has Rust's own particular way of bringing it through the water. And he can use that lure, and on that day I'm talking about, those fish hit that Rage Tail more than anything else, and they hit it on the end of Rust's spinning rod and reel, not mine, because I kept trying to do the same things, and I couldn't get the fish to hit it the same. And as I'm bringing it in, I'm thinking, I'm doing it the same, aren't I? But he was doing something a little bit differently. He maybe was reeling it faster. And so then I got the point. I said, Rust, here, you put mine on a hook. I want it rigged just exactly like you do, even though we're rigging them the same. So I had him rig it for me. And still, I couldn't catch fish the same way. Was it just mental attitude? Was it just confidence? You know, all these things play a role. But what I'm trying to tell you is on that day, in an area where I thought I had the answer to smallmouth fishing, using a special spinnerbait I used or a Senko worm fished in a certain way that the smallmouths were hitting, I couldn't get a fish. I could hardly catch a fish, and yet Rust was beating me. And whenever you fish with a buddy, you still, nobody likes to get beat. I don't care if it's your best friend and they're catching fish, you still want to do well. But I learned from that. And every year I'm compiling more knowledge, and I guess that's the thing I wanted to end this with today, is to tell you that no matter what the tools you use, the knowledge you're compiling as you go along is really the basic key to what makes you, and hopefully will keep you becoming, a better fisherman as you go forward. Until next time, folks, this is Don Meisner with the North Country Fishing Report.